All right, so Pride 2023. Hello, I am Elijah, and I guess I finished university now. Yeah, I'm a community manager, and a little quote I want to kind of mention before is this is like my kind of like mantra, and it's harder to compliment than it is to criticize. And it's a quote I heard from I heard it from a talent show, and it kind of stuck with me because when you're criticizing someone, yeah, you just kind of see them as a person. You should be more mindful of people. But anyway, so I just wanted to plant that quote in your mind. The first section we're going to be talking about is how to celebrate pride in Discord communities. We're going to be going into a few different topics within this, such as like branding and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to kind of show you how to do it. So, pride-ifying branding. In architects, as you can see, there's the Pride 2023 role. This is a method of pride-ifying branding. So this is a method where obviously you can self-assign roles and you can like, I guess, be interactive in Pride events. So the main I guess section of branding is sort of icons, emojis and stickers. I'm sure all of us have seen with like companies, they have they have rainbow icons in the background of their logos. And this is so they can, show that they are inclusive of LGBTQIA plus community. So a way you can be inclusive with emojis and stickers is that, so I'm gonna use architects as an example. So if you've got like pride like flag, so let's say you've got like the gay flag, the trans flag, any of these kind of flags, having them like physically in your community is like, it's showing people that you care about them, and you value them. So self-assignable roles. We're gonna get into self-assignable roles a little bit later on, but yeah. So it's just some roles that you can just pick just to show, you want to be included and you want to have fun in events. And usually people use these like pinging and stuff. So gendered language. This I put this under branding because when you do like announcements and things, obviously you try and set like the tone of your server or your community. So a lot of people like in announcements they go like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And then a lot of people can, I guess, I make the relation to it being very heteronormative, which we'll talk in a bit. But yeah, so a few examples of like how you can use gendered language, I'll show on the next slide, is using gender neutral terms. My personal favorite is being "Hey folks," because there was like a cool TikToker that says it very goofy. But anyway, so yeah, these are some cool gender neutral terms you can use for your community. Maybe not everyone. Maybe not everyone. Yeah, but yeah, there's "Hey team, folks." I mean, yeah, you can see that. And then the next section is pronouns and identity, which kind of links to what we've just spoken about. This goes more into like how you can, I guess, like address your community if you don't really know. Why do we use pronouns? That's the question. So there are three main areas. So we have expression, we break down assumptions, and inclusion. Oh, I'm so proud of this presentation. So, expression. This will give members a more comfortable experience because, like it's kind of nice to be addressed how you want to be addressed. It makes you feel more as a human and it's very nice. It's very affirming and makes you feel good. Very good job. Thank you. And validation and respect from community. Being validated is obviously a very nice feeling, and like it gets you being the best version of yourself. Like it gets you it gets you feeling good about yourself and being true to yourself. This is another one that I guess is personal to me. I came out in 2021. Oh my goodness, yeah, 2 years ago. It's very very good like knowing when you're able to come out and be yourself and be expressive and like identify how you want to identify. Like personal for me, I felt horrible lying to myself, and like I didn't feel like me, it was a very detached feeling. And then the next section is breaking down assumptions. This is like the whole online space is very heteronormative, and what that means is that it's kind of like the assumption that you're straight or heterosexual. Breaking this down is very very important because obviously you want to try and involve as many people as you can and make people, I guess, not feel uncomfortable. The next section is pronouns, sex/gender, and titles. Pronouns, obviously, we've just mentioned, but sex and gender is like when you're always referring to people as he. Oh, he did this. He did this. Oh, I reckon this guy did this. Just trying to make sure you're very like aware of other people and make sure you're valuing people as well. Titles, not really too much of a big one. I only added this just because, like, personally, I mean, a lot of people would assume my title's Mister, but it's not. But yeah, like it's just a small thing. It's just those things you kind of think about. Yeah, then how we refer to people. So this is kind of like re-explain my last point. And it's kind of like a little thing I want to plan is like, don't put gay where you wouldn't put straight. So when you're like referring to people in your community, don't be like, oh, this is my gay best friend, or this is my whatever, like they're your friend, like they're a person, and like you don't really want to define them by their sexuality because it can be damaging for them. Like sometimes you don't know how they process it. You just want to make sure people are, just happy with themselves. Yeah, it's nice. So inclusion is the next one. Making sure members are comfortable. So I kind of want to mention one size doesn't fit all, and this kind of goes into the whole like pronoun roles and stuff. So if you ask yourself who isn't being represented and what can I do to change that, the next point is being part of a group. So I mean, like we're people, we're humans, we're social beings. Like we want to be a part of a group and we want to be valued and we want to be able to like help each other out and like uplift each other, which is something I personally value a lot. Being able to be inclusive to your community and being able to like uplift them, it's a good feeling, and it just like improves your whole server's like morale. I'm not sure what the word would be, but yeah. And promotes equality as well. Like it's so simple. Equality, like you just want to make sure everyone is like being valued, and you don't want to put people over other people. So next one is pronoun roles. So I mean, we're kind of talking a lot about pronouns, but honestly, it's pretty important because the latest Discord updates that have been coming out, there's quite a lot of issues in moderation and stuff with it. But Discord are doing some cool updates with it. So a quick kind of brush over pronoun roles. It's just something in your profile, or I mean, in a server where you can just display how you want to be identified or how you want to be addressed. Obviously, opt-in display pronouns. So this is obviously in your onboarding section. You can just ask people. A kind of like an intricate detail here, personally, is that having a skip feature. So as you see in the screenshot over here, you can see that you can skip this. The reason why I personally would have this is because some people in your community might not be out. Like they might not even know what pronouns they want to go by. So being able to like just cater to them as well is very important. And also, like, if your server is, I guess, very, very pushed with LGBT, like, you're probably going to experience raids and stuff. And with people that have pronoun roles, they're probably more prone to being targets for harassment. So, you just want to make sure people have the choice. I feel like choice at the end of the day is the most important thing with this kind of stuff. So as I mentioned before, one size doesn't fit all. So if you're not able to have everyone in your onboarding, because I know onboarding is limited. So having things like other/ask or any pronouns, it's very good, just to have everyone, in the same boat. So avoiding gender bias. What does bias mean? Bias is kind of like, I'd say it's like a preconceived opinion you have on something without any kind of like contextual like context to it. So gender bias in this kind of context would be if you have pronoun roles and you have, oh, blue is boy and then pink is girl. Like that's the kind of like gender stereotype that should be broken down. Try to have a mix, or try to, like reduce stereotypes in your pronoun roles and things like that, and just any kind of things that involve color would be very beneficial. So Discord pronouns feature, they're rolling this out as we speak. So they added the pronouns feature, which is very beneficial, but obviously a lot of trolls come with it. Yeah, so this is a screenshot of how I personally think the pronoun roles should be rolled out in servers if you are to have it on your onboarding. Next section is recognizing the importance of Pride. And when I say listen, not hear, is listen to your community. Don't just stand there and be like a book for them to write in. Like you need to fully sympathize with them, and you need to understand that people have experiences. Like we're people, we experience emotions, and there are so many people that have so many stories about maybe their transition or maybe their coming out story. Like you want to make sure you will listen to them in like a very safe space, and you want to value them. Research into Pride and its history. So this isn't really too much of a big topic I want to go into, since I want to like keep everything kind of in the Discord boat, I guess. Obviously, like Pride originated, I think, in 1969, and it was with the whole Stonewall riots when there was like big riots and people were. It was the first Pride march that happened, and it was a very significant piece in LGBT history. So this is kind of where the whole Pride tradition, I think, originated from. Validate others' emotions. Like this kind of goes on to the first point. You don't want to have any like preconceived notions. I'm trying to overcomplicate this. You should want to make sure people are heard, listened, and you're gonna provide a safe space. I mean, a lot of us here own communities, and like we wanna make sure our members are safe, or safer, or safe they can be. So yeah, you should want to recognize the importance of how much it can mean to some people. All right, next section is, why do we celebrate Pride? What does Pride mean to me personally? Is I'd say that Pride means to uplift each other and to be better as a person. This kind of goes into like a lot of self-improvement stuff, but I'd say Pride is like a catalyst to that. Like it gets me thinking like outside of LGBT, just how can you be better as to people, people who aren't LGBT. So yeah, that's what Pride means to me. Feel free to write what Pride means to you. I would be kind of interested to see what you folks come up with. So why do we celebrate Pride? There are three areas. So there's educate and awareness. There's creating a safe first space, and there's inclusion and belonging. I would say more belonging. So here's a quote from Alexis in the 2022 Pride discussion. And they said, if you have an issue with what we're doing, this isn't a community for you. I kind of took from this is that if someone is being a rat, basically, if there's someone that's causing issues in your community, like how much do you value your community? Like how much would you, like how far would you go to make sure it is a safer space? Educate and awareness. So as I just mentioned, Stonewall, this kind of where the whole like Pride kind of like came into like play, I guess, all the Pride marches and how we celebrate Pride yearly. Stonewall did happen in June, I believe, which is why we celebrate Pride in this month. Harm that homophobia, transphobia, etc. has on LGBTQIA plus, being like educated on statistics, being educated on like laws that are passing, and just like knowing the current world events that are happening now as we speak, that are happening to the LGBTQIA plus community. There is a lot happening currently, and I know a lot of y'all are probably aware. In America, there are a lot of things passing, but I don't want to get too much into that. Yeah, so the next one is allyship. So even if you aren't a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, being an ally is so important, and allies are a good backbone because like a lot of people in the LGBTQIA plus community are unrepresented and they're not like heard enough. A lot of people in power aren't a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, and being able to use them as like a voice for us is very important. Like if you aren't a part of the community or you want to support the community, you know, like showing how much you value them and calling people out on biases and stuff like that, it's important. It's very important. Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, exactly. Community leaders are huge allies because like these people are, you know, like they display everything that happens, and it's things like companies when they have the Pride logos, like they are, you know, they're adding a lot of this. But then this comes with the whole question of, oh, are these companies being disingenuous? Are they only doing this just so they can look good? So this is kind of how you look into like, you know, how they like things they've done in the past, like for charities and that kind of stuff. But yeah, but with allyship, I would say this is a very big part of LGBT. The next section is creating a safer space. So this could be for in-person and online communities, but obviously since you know this is a Discord kind of thing, I kind of want to focus this more on online communities. But in person, there are many resources on how you can, you know, like join events. Like there are Pride marches that happen in the UK. For me, there's most cities there's Pride marches. But online communities specifically, there is like you can do a lot in your community with LGBT because obviously hosting events that we've mentioned earlier with having roles and things, it's very inclusive if you're able to you know be a community leader and you can host these events for your community. Allows us to escape from marginalized groups. There are so many online spaces where it is just simply unsafe to be LGBT, and you can face so much like hatred, criticism. Like I've played games, I've been in Discord servers, I've been raided by Discord servers that all these people are just displaying so much hate, and it's just you know like we should be those people that hold these spaces that are safer for people. Yeah, so having that whole space for people for to be able to express their emotions and you know like their stories, you know, it's very good to be able to like nurture that environment and have that and open talk. So this like open talk about LGBT like issues and things like that. So with the whole like you know laws and bills that are passing, being able to have a like an open mind and being able to have a discussion with people about this is important because a lot of people can't talk about it in some places. So having a server or having an online space where you're able to open this discussion, you know, it's very important to people because like there are so many people on Discord where Discord is their only escape and it's the only thing they can use to talk to people that are safe to talk to. Because there are people that have families that maybe don't accept them, or maybe they live in a country where it's not normalized. Or, you know, there are so many unsafe places for members of the LGBTQIA plus community. So you just want to make sure they're in a safe space. So inclusion and belonging. So as I mentioned before, we are social beings. Like we uplift each other, we rely on each other to grow mentally, everything. It's so important to be able to include people. Like being an outsider of a group is such an alienating feeling, and it feels horrible knowing that you're not part of something. Yeah, it's just a horrible feeling. Like I've personally experienced it. I'm sure a lot of people here have experienced it. Like being excluded from something for something you can't control. So allowing an environment for uplifting others. So as I mentioned, like having a Discord community and having an online space or platform as myself where you're able to just create a safe environment for people to be themselves and express their emotions. Yeah, it's important. You want to make sure everyone is seen in your community, and you want to obviously give people a voice, and you want to make sure that you're not excluding anyone because, I mean, as I said, it's a horrible feeling. Navigating pushback during Pride. This is a whole section about how we can, improve moderation, and we can have systems in place to remove hatred. And yeah, moderation. It's for server owners. It's a very like big pain point in communities because I know there's so many different ways we can do moderation. We can be very hands-on. We can be very lax. We can have very subjective rules. There's so many things we can do in moderation. But you just want to make sure you're on it, because I think having or like I'd say being in a community where there is a lack of moderation, it's just like a breeding ground for toxicity. It's in my opinion, it's just not good. But anyway, so navigating pushback. So moderation. So this is a screenshot of the safety setup in your server settings if you were a community owner. So setting up a Discord automod, there are plenty of tutorials, but I'd assume that maybe some of the server consultations or maybe campfire chats can maybe like gloss over this a bit. But as you can see, like there is a lot of settings you can do in here where you can make sure certain words are blocked. Like in my personal server, I have a lot of slurs blocked where as soon as you say the word, it'll insta ban and there's like no one can see it. So make sure you have things like that set up. It just makes it so your members don't have to like endure like so much hatred. So yeah, so that's why I mentioned server consultations. So this is where server consultations can like help you with like moderation, and they can make sure your I guess your server is I guess up to par. Yeah, so keep your staff on board and active. I'd say this is such an important part because like your staff are like the backbone of your server. Like everyone looks up to a staff team, I'd say, and they set the example like 100%. And like I see it in so many communities where like the way the staff act is the way the community acts. Making sure your staff are so like host staff meetings. Like make sure your staff like in May, like you can have a staff meeting and be like, okay guys, Pride's coming up. And we need to make sure, we need to make sure moderation is on point. We need to be quick and we need to be active. So just making sure your staff, your moderators, or anyone that can make your server a safer space is informed of like Pride, just anything really, and how to deal with it as well. Like how firm you're going to be with moderation. The user protection. So the reason why I put the pronouns back on here is because, as I said earlier, with the whole thing of people being a target, maybe if they have pronouns in their bio, yeah. So that's kind of why I added it. So the whole opt-in approach to having roles and pronouns, I kind of just glossed over this before, but I just want to kind of reinforce it because being able to have a choice, I'd say, is the most important thing at the end of the day. Like the whole onboarding, the whole thing is a choice. It's questions. You choose how you want to express yourself. So being able to like skip, being able to go back and choose and swap your decisions, like it's very very. I have no idea what the word is. Yeah, but it's that word. But yeah, so reassuring them yourself is a safe space. It's honestly as simple as going in your general chat. If there is comforting, yeah. If there is someone in your server and they are being like a pain, sometimes you want to be vocal about your values. Like you want to be vocal about how you address moderation, how you address trolls, because a lot of people, I mean, I've seen in the past, a lot of people don't know that like the whole background process of a staff team. Like there are so many things that go on in the background that members don't know about, which is sometimes good, but like when you know you're safe, it's such a better feeling than like knowing you're just there. So just like reassuring people and like just saying like we have zero tolerance, like say in your rules, say in your information, your guide channel, in your general chats, you can say anywhere, just say like we have zero tolerance and we will not be tolerant of this behavior. Yeah, this kind of goes into the next point of keeping chats clean. So there's obviously having blacklisted words in people's profiles, which is a thing coming out with the Discord. Let me just go back a slide a second. So in here, so as you can see here, block words in member profiles. This is currently in base. I don't know who has access to this, but I did see it in my server. So it's kind of something I wanted to add. So being able to block words in members' profiles. I believe someone mentioned that you can also with specific pronouns you can block as well. Because I know there are a lot of trolls recently with the whole pronouns feature coming out. So yeah, so that kind of goes into keeping chats clean. So this goes into like how much freedom your members have. So what I mean by that is, can your members send images in your server? Can they send GIFs? And the reason why this links to all of this is because if your server's been hate raided, like people are going to send nasty stuff in your server and you're going to have to deal with it. And if you don't have an active staff team, as mentioned on the previous slide, it's just going to sit there and people are going to see it. And it is not good to see. So yeah, you want to make sure that if your server is a target, you would want to have some sort of barrier to entry with being able to like have certain permissions in your server. So the next one is approaching internalized homophobia. It's like our biases, I guess we have for people in the LGBTQI plus community. I'd say that's the simplest term of playing. If anyone has a good definition, go for it. But yeah, so when I say how much you know about someone, it goes into things like assuming everyone is straight, assuming this, assuming that. And like you need to remember people's boundaries as well. Like a lot of people just ask very, very like personal questions that I've experienced. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced. And just remember, like, sexuality is fluid. Like, if someone's came out to you and they've came out as gay, and maybe, I don't know, maybe a few months down the line, they're like, oh, no, I'm not. I'm bisexual. Like, just treat it like it's just a regular conversation. Like, you don't have to go crazy on it. You don't have to have any crazy reaction. It's just sexuality. Like, it's not that deep. That's how I that's how I wanna address it. People are aware that you're not gonna judge and you're not going to be like, oh, but I thought you were this, but you were this. And staying educated as well. So this kind of goes into that point as well. So stay educated of the LGBTQIA plus community and the law as well, like, and all the bills coming through. I would say maybe follow LGBTQIA plus content creators. I know a very, very popular one. Obviously, we all know probably Dylan Mulvaney, very, very big transgender content creator, and they faced a lot of backlash and things online, but a beacon, I guess, from what I've seen for trans individuals, because that they're able to address these issues on such a large platform and reach so many people. They're able to create that space for people to like tell their story. Yeah, another content creator I'd suggest is Benji Lookbook. Benji Lookbook specifically looks a lot into a lot of like human issues as well. Like it's not just LGBT. There's a lot of like POC content on there as well. So outside of LGBTQ and outside of Pride Month, if you do ever want to look at a content creator, I do recommend Benji Lookbook. I'll link all of these somewhere. It'll probably be in the text channel. So the whole summary of all the points I've made is the first section is finding appropriate ways to celebrate and introduce pride in your community. So you don't have to go crazy far. You don't have to you don't have to plan these extravagant, crazy events. Like it hasn't got to be anything like insane. Like if you want to, go for it. Like the more the merrier. But like just having something like being able to show that you are inclusive and you are like valuing something that can be so important to people. It's just amazing. It's good. And then the second point is why being inclusive is important for your community members. So like just understand why it's important to people. Like talk to people, like connect with people that are a part of the community if you're not a part of it. Like you want to hear their stories, you want to hear their coming out stories, how they interact with online spaces, because it's so much different than if you're not a part of the community, because there's so many other things you have to be aware of. And fostering a safer environment. As I said, just having moderation and having these places where you can keep things at like a safer level for members. It's very, very important because, as I said, a lot of people live online, which isn't a bad thing at all. Like, I mean, the world right now is not in a very good state, and a lot of people are resorting to just online spaces to, express their issues and express their emotions. So being able to support their feelings and be able to, yeah, just support it. It's important. It's very, very important. So yeah, that is everything in this presentation. Yeah, if there's any questions that anyone has, or any questions you folks want to discuss, yeah, yeah, I'd love to hear it. Honestly, I'd love to hear it, and like I'd love to hear like what you folks might want to what would you say include in your community. What would you think are the best ways to deal with excuses for hatred, such as religious grounds? Honestly, interesting. I mean, the way my approach to it and how like I post it, because like as a content creator, like I'm very open about sexuality on my platform because I want to, I want to give people a voice. But like the way I address it is like if someone just comes into my community and they're saying, I don't support LGBTQI plus because it goes against my religion. The way I'd address it is as long as you're not spreading hate, it's okay. Like you need to understand, like people do have beliefs, and these beliefs are important to them as well. Like to us, I mean, to me personally, like sexuality to me is important. It's very important to me personally, and maybe to someone else, it's religion. And you have to respect it, and you have to respect their religion. They'll respect your sexuality as long as they're not spreading hate. In my opinion, I think that's okay. I think that's perfectly okay. Like I have people on my staff team, and they're not, I guess, supportive is the word, but they're fully accepting. They're fully accepting, and like we have conversations about it, and it is very interesting to see like another point of view. It is very, very interesting. Um, would you recommend mod teams to have their own internal workshop to discuss how Pride means to them and members of their community before planning bigger? Yes, yes, yes. Oh my goodness. This is something I relate to so closely. Okay, this is so interesting actually. Okay, so a few weeks ago, so it was right, I mean it wasn't even 2 weeks ago actually. It was when on the 1st of June when Pride started. There is a community that I managed. I ended up not being a part of the team after, but I was completely unaware of this. But so the demographic of their community, it's a lot of the people in there are Eastern and very, very heavily religious, which I was completely unaware of. And I didn't have a meeting with the staff team. I was like, I'm going to change the logo to Pride. It's not that deep. It's just a logo. I did a fun announcement, being like, Happy Pride, yada yada yada, and it was bad. It was very, very bad. The chat, we had to lock it. We had to lock everything, and we had to issue an apology, which was crazy. And it was horrible. It was very horrible, but it kind of shows that you do have to have meetings, and you have to be more aware of like not just like people. It's like areas and like your demographic. Like with demographic, it speaks a whole broad of people. Like. And like I was blown back by this, and like we had a meeting after and we discussed it, and they were like, yeah, we should take it down. We should we need to be respectful of a lot of people here because a lot of people here are religious, and being gay is against a lot of their beliefs. And I'm like, oh my, I didn't even know. How do you deal with issuing an apology that still seems sincere to your personal beliefs? As much as it sucked, I didn't want to issue an apology because like it's perfectly okay to be gay. It's perfectly okay to be attracted to who you want to be attracted to. Um, but it was okay. So we dealt with the apology is that I didn't personally make the apology. I got it was the owner of the community because I was just the community manager and the social media manager. But we had a big discussion in a call and in a text chat, and we were just saying how we're going to address future events. Like Christmas. Like Christmas traditionally is a Christian event, but obviously it's very mainstream now. So, and that's kind of how I viewed Pride. Pride. It's like a mainstream thing. Like you haven't got to be LGBT to what do you call it, to celebrate Pride. Like so many of my straight friends celebrate Pride. Um, so yeah, so they did a thing, and they basically just said we're going to be neutral. And after reading that and understanding, and after the meeting, I took like a step back and I looked at all of these companies that are neutral, and I understand. Like it's like I understand why these massive corporations and companies are staying neutral on a lot of these pressing issues, or so whatever you want to call them. Um, and a lot of these like Bud Light, like when Bud Light partnered with Dylan Mulvaney, it was like it was insane. Like there were so many hate groups going around, like boycotting Bud Light, and obviously it didn't really affect the company because they're multi-billion, but it kind of shows that there are people like no matter kind of what you do, there will be people that won't like it. But as long as you cater to the majority, I would say, um, I'd say personal beliefs. You sometimes you just can't have it because like it's not like the owner of, I don't know, the owner of some random company. Maybe like you need to be the company, not a person. So yeah, it is very it's a very annoying in my opinion, but it's kind of how it is. Why not use the word queer? I always feel more included. The reason why I mean personally for me I don't use the word queer is because it's a reclaimed word, and a lot of times in the past it was used negatively towards gay people. So I mean that's personally why I don't use it. So yeah, it has a lot of negative connotations, and yeah. Honestly, good questions. Honestly, good questions. Yeah, like with like using the word queer, it's very heads and tails. Like some people don't like it, some people do. It's purely just preference. But if you want to I guess cater to the majority, I don't know, just say LGBTQIA plus community, like just include as many people as you can. Yeah, so I'd say that's all the information I have to give to you folks today. I just want to say one quote that I want to like sit with you folks is please, if you're taking away anything, it is harder to compliment than it is to criticize. And as my nan says to me, be who you want to be, do what you want to do, and what you choose to do impacts others and yourself. And yeah, just be a good person. It's not hard. And yeah, I appreciate everything. Yeah, thank you for stopping by.